Assemblies of God Teen Bible Quiz, Rules Made Simple, Session 13, Question and Answer Requirements. Continued. We're using the Simplified Rules for Teen Bible Quiz version 2022-2023. Download the Simplified Rules using the link in the video description below or go to pfbiblequiz.com/rules. Page 5 in the section titled Question and Answer Requirements, and 2 sets of introductory remarks which are very familiar. First, the quotation question. Quotation question. A quotation question requires a perfect quotation as an answer from a complete verse or verses. For XP5 and contender divisions, all quotes must come from marked verses. It takes 2 definitions from the glossary to define a quotation and a perfect quotation. First, the word quote or quotation and the definition on page 10. Quote, quotation. A quotation is a word-for-word duplication of scripture used in statements, scripture text questions, quotation completion questions, and essence completion questions. The word quote is used to signal the beginning of the actual quotation found in those questions. 2. The word quote is also used in quotation questions to require a perfect quotation from Scripture. So part 1 here is addressing the written quotation on the official answer sheet. Part 2 is addressing the word quote used in the question. And so what is a perfect quotation? This will address the quizzer's action in answering the question. From page 9, perfect quotation, perfectly quote, is a quotation in which no word, syllable, or letter of the alphabet is omitted, repeated, added, or changed. A stumble, cough, mispronunciation, etc. is not considered making a quotation imperfect. An example of this introductory remark is as follows. Question number 2 for 20 points, quotation question from 1 Corinthians, quote verse 4 from the opening chapter. The answer, 1 Corinthians 1:4, must be recited perfectly by the quizzer. There is one other term we need to define, and that is the term marked verses. From the glossary on page 9, marked verses are verses in the scripture portion that have a black filled-in circle next to them. And here's an example of what that looks like. Now, quotation completion question. Quotation completion question. A quotation completion question requires a perfect quotation as an answer that must be completed from a verse or verses, sentence or sentences, question or question, saying or sayings, etc. For XP5 and contender divisions, all quotes must come only from marked verses. That's why marked verses are important. It must be completed because the question will provide at least the first word of the scripture. For example, question number 8 for 30 points, quotation completion question from 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Finish this verse, quote, that is why. A correct answer will finish this entire verse perfectly. Can you quote either of the verses we've asked for? We welcome your feedback. Please send your comments and questions to info@pfbiblequiz.com. And please subscribe to our channel. Thanks and happy quizzing.